Hi guys, welcome back to Simpler Blissful Living. Today I'll be sharing a recipe for fried cassava with you guys. I'm using fresh cassava to prepare this recipe, but you can use frozen cassava if you'd like. Cassava has a very great flavor and it's widely available in the tropics. It's become quite available here in the States as well, and I'm able to get fresh cassava from Whole Foods most of the time. But if you can't get your hands on it, go ahead and use the frozen cassava and it turns out just as great. So the cassava you buy at the store sometimes has a waxy outside, which has been the case for most of the ones that I've bought. So it makes it hard to see if the cassava is actually good on the inside. Once you get the cassava home though, what you want to do is take a big knife, a very sharp knife, and then cut the ends off. This is what I end up doing, and then you want to check to make sure that the inside is good. And then you're going to cut it into more manageable pieces. I like to cut it like my hand's length. You can cut it as big or small as you want. To peel it is probably the more challenging part of getting the cassava ready. So once you have it into smaller manageable pieces, you just cut a slit lengthwise and then start peeling it back. Sometimes it peels quite easily, as you'll see in the video, but there are pieces where you're actually going to have to get in with your paring knife and peel it. Once you have your cassava peeled, you want to store it in a bowl of cold water. If you just store it by itself, it tends to start getting brown from oxidization. So if you store it in some cold water, it helps it not turn brown so quickly. So as I noted earlier, if you have trouble just peeling the cassava peel, then it's easy to go in with your knife and just peel it like you would peel like a potato. It is a little bit more tough than potato, but you can peel it with a paring knife. And then as you can see in the video here, there are a few soft spots which you want to remove on this if you have it on your cassava. So my cassava did have a few soft spots, so I ended up just cutting that off. And that's just something that we did when we on the islands. You don't waste the whole product because there's a small piece of it that's gone bad. You just cut that piece out. So what I do is, if there's any soft or dark spots, I just cut those out and I cook the rest of it. The next step is to cut the cassava pieces into smaller uniform pieces. Now this will ensure that the cassava is cooked properly and they're all cooked at the same time. So what I typically do is just cut it down the middle. If they're thicker pieces, then I cut them into smaller pieces, but otherwise I just make sure that they're all approximately the same size. We're then going to wash the cassava pieces here. I'm just using the water that I had in the bowl and then just making sure that there's no dirt on it. It is a root crop, so during peeling sometimes it gets the water a little dirty. Then we're going to put a pan with some water on the stove on high heat and then add a couple of teaspoons of salt. I'm using Himalayan salt, but any salt will do. And then you just mix it in to make sure the water is nice and salty, and then drop in your cassava pieces. The goal here is to make sure that all the cassava pieces are under the water, so they're covered with the water. And then you just put the lid on it and let it boil. While the cassava boils, we're going to make a batter to dip the cassava before we fry it. This is optional, but it does take the cassava to a whole new level. Here I am grinding some cumin seeds and some garam seeds, which is jeera and ajwain. And I'm grinding them in my mortar and pestle for a fresh taste. And then I'm going to add some gram flour, which is besan, to a big bowl, along with some spices. I'll have exact measurements on my website. Here I'm adding some garam masala. If you don't have garam masala, then you can use Fiji masala, using some turmeric, which is haldi, some onion powder and garlic powder. If you want to use fresh onions and fresh garlic, you can go ahead and crush those or grind those and put them in here. Adding some chili powder and then the freshly grinded cumin and garam seed mixture. And then we're just going to go ahead and whisk everything together to make sure it's well combined. And then add enough water to get a pancake batter-like consistency. You want to make sure that the batter is a pourable batter, but not too thin, as you see in the video. Meanwhile, your cassava is probably boiled. It takes about 15 minutes to boil, and you just want to pierce it with a fork, and when it's tender, then you just go ahead and drain it in a colander or in a strainer. Once they're cool enough for you to handle, cut them into more bite-sized pieces, and then we're going to go ahead and dump all the mixture in the batter. Make sure that each one is coated really well, and then we're going to go ahead and deep fry these. You can also shallow fry them. Here I'm using medium heat and I'm just deep frying them until they're golden brown, and then they're done. You'll go ahead and drain them on a paper towel lined plate, and you have some delicious yuca fries. These are very good with some chutney. I have some chili chutney here that I'm using. They're great with tamarind, great appetizer, great starter dish, and I hope you give these a try. If you like this video, as always, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you like my channel and you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you guys are doing well, and until next time, please take care, live blissfully, and I'll see you guys very soon.